Right. Should be live.
Pumpkin man.
Oh my god, look at him.
It's the
Bloody
pumpkin
hell.
man already.
Yeah,
Look at
right.
that.
We are live. Right, gentlemen, we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Plastic Crap Podcast. It's Monday night. And can everyone hear us, first of all? Are we coming through loud and clear?
Yes.
And everybody
Testing.
Dom did have some
Testing.
technical difficulties.
I did.
And I'm trying a new
Hopefully it's
speaker,
working
so we'll see what's going on. Speaker, mic.
I was literally about to say that.
Oh, give me a break.
Oh, dear.
Right. Let's
Are we
check.
live? I can't see whether we're live or not, to be honest. Whatever.
Yeah, apparently I'm live.
Don't know if I am. We'll see.
I can hear me.
We should get this sorted out one day, so a bit less shambolic at the beginning.
I am.
Yeah,
I am live. Okay.
I think we'd lose something.
Excellent.
People would think we're good or something. That would be a bit stupid.
Yeah.
Well, we've got Jim, Evil Jim Reaper says evening. Can you hear all right on mine? I assume so. They're saying we've got a Halloween fancy dress on.
Oh no, this is the new
Halloween
standard of the Plastic Crack Podcast.
Yes.
It
I
is the
feel
new.
the need to.
We're all in uniform
bit of-
now, this year.
a bit of class inserted into proceedings.
95th rifles.
Yes. I just have this overwhelming urge to just shut his screen off on mine. Yes, this was courtesy of Dom, so
Yes,
thank you
thank
very
you, Dom.
much.
Thank you very much, Dom.
I don't feel like such a loser
You're
anymore.
welcome.
I don't feel like such a loser anymore. It's great.
Well, to be fair, you've got two now, and we've only got one, so you still can. if you
Yeah,
want.
exactly. You're a double loser, so it's fine.
Oh, it's even better, right? Because I can wear this under the hoodie when we go to wherever we go, like gaming conventions. And if I get hot, I can take it off and I still look superb.
You can just do. You can just go to the when you're in the black powder bit. You can have that on, and then when you go over to start the
Medieval.
Baron's War, just flip your
Superb, fantastique. You got my rudimental French. Oh my god, the madder than normal Monday as it ever is. Yeah, of course it is. It's the Plastic Crack Podcast, baby. I think you're live, Dom. You should be. I hope you are.
No, I'm not live. Oh, no, I am, I think.
Yeah? You push
How
stream,
weird is
start
that?
stream.
I think I did
Yeah.
hit stream, yes, mate. Yeah. I don't know. It was taking forever to load up for some reason.
Oh, that's not a great night for the
So I probably
internet.
missed all that.
That's a good omen of things to come, isn't it?
It's all.
There we go. I'm actually live now. Sorry about that, boys. Oh my goodness, how weird is that? That just didn't want to start. I was just
Crazy.
getting the wheel of death going round and round and round
Oh,
and
they-
round and round.
Oh, they didn't want to go. Oh,
No,
happy
don't know why.
days. Right.
Just now.
Okay. So obviously we're in a certain dress, and this is how you should see us from now on. So I'm just putting it out there because then everyone's got to do it every week, which is great for me. So happy days. So right, this week is a special week. We're going to be talking about nostalgia. But before we start, obviously, as usual, we will kick it off with what we've done this week and what we've achieved. So do you want to start with you, Steve? What have you managed to do this week, mate? Anything interesting?
I speed painted Napoleonic and it was different. Yeah, I painted a base of 4 Peninsular War British infantry. With a bit of interesting basing going on there. I painted 2 of these chasseurs à cheval. They were so nice to paint. I enjoyed every single minute of painting them. Really lovely models. It also helped there wasn't much white to go on them, which is always a bonus in my world.
And it helped you had 2. And it helped you had 2.
Yes, I only had 2 as well. But apart from that, it's been just that and a bit more bolt action stuff. So I didn't actually get. I mean, apart from the Napoleonics, I didn't actually get a whole lot done last week. So
Yeah.
very quick update from myself.
Cool. What about you, Dom?
What have I been doing this week? I've basically almost finished another battalion of McCleavebergs. So that was quite satisfying to get another one out of the way. I did some not French cavalry, which are actually Hessian-like cavalry, because they were brigaded with the Lancers in 1812. So I thought, well, I'll get them. So then they were really nice Perry models. They're actually Bavarian models, but because they have the same helmets, apparently, the Hessians and the Bavarians.
Right.
So I did them. And just to finish it off, I did some English American War of Independence Loyalist Rangers.
Oh,
just
very
6
nice.
of those, just for that. So,
Oh.
been a fairly productive day, productive week, and got 2 games in as well.
Yes. Yes, you did.
The least said about the second one of those, the better, really. But there you go.
Are we going to hear about it anyway?
Yeah, people will see.
Yeah.
People will
Well,
see
you know
it.
who's going to tell all about that one, aren't they?
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
Yeah, and there is going to be a video at some point when I get around to editing it.
Yeah.
If I can find a way to make it look like I won, that would be amazing. But sadly, I don't.
Yeah, you could always
Sadly.
accidentally wipe the SD card.
Yeah, I might just say it just broke. It just never happened.
Yeah,
Never happened.
Never happened. It would never happen.
Yeah, we had. We're getting onto it already, but that game was just the most extraordinary game where I just could not stop throwing high, which is fantastic when you're shooting, but it's not so good when you're trying to command troops,
No.
particularly when you're trying to bring them on. So the one brigade I managed to get on against the 3 that Ken had shot really, really nicely, really well. Unfortunately, it was just 1 brigade against 3 for most of the game.
Yes, it was.
And that didn't go so well.
No, it didn't. Did it?
Did not go so well.
I'll take it from there. Actually, to what I've been doing this week. Apart from absolutely crushing your soul, like I said, I wanted to do. So yeah, first game we've done with Black Powder Napoleonics. Not going to say what the outcome was, but you can probably guess. It is good. To be fair, it's quite an interesting video because for once I was very, very well. Yeah, it was a good game. I'll just say that it was a good game. But
for once, it was a good game.
Yeah. But now I got to play. I played 4 of my painted battalions and a troop, didn't I? So got to get quite a few of my Napoleonics out this time. Been very, to be fair, I haven't got a lot of hobby done this week because I've been very busy at work. Which I'm sure one of my colleagues is probably watching the stream right now, and he knows who he is, because he was doing what I've been doing all over the weekend. But yeah, pretty much. And I've got these guys base blue, washed, fleshed, black's gone on, and I'm just putting the red on now onto 2 battalions of the old guard. I'm also doing the artillery at the same time. I'm painting them up like batch as well. So realistically, I've got 48 plus 15, so that's 58.
Yeah.
So nearly 60 figures on the go at the minute, and I've only got till Saturday, which is going to be tight. It's going to be tight. In all honesty with you, I don't think I'm going to manage to get them finished, but I'll give it a good go. Because that's the end of the challenge is Saturday. But I literally had a very, very busy week at work. So yeah, what have you been?
Well
up to,
done, Ken. You've done pretty well painting up that number of figures.
Yeah, very, very well done.
Yeah.
I can only but try, can't
Job.
I?
Apparently, nobody can hear you on my stream, and Leslie says that's excellent.
What, me?
Yes.
Oh right, lovely.
That's a bit rude.
Yeah.
Leslie.
Let's move that a bit closer.
I've just upped it a bit. And so let me know in the chat whether you can hear everybody.
Can you
on
hear
the
me
other
now,
side.
Leslie?
Apparently it wasn't.
Can you hear me?
I've just upped it a little. Obviously not. He's not replying.
No, he's not. Of course not.
That can mean he can.
Yeah, he's probably like, oh, for God's sake. But yeah, no. Apart from that, yeah.
Although Duncan did say, sorry, I was saying Duncan said audio is fine, but the shirts are too loud.
Just.
Can't please everybody.
No, exactly.
Can't please everybody.
Just quickly before we move on to you, Martin, I'm going to ask you another question about this bloody guard. The cuffs on these guards, they're not red, are they?
What on the greatcoats?
Yeah.
I can't remember. I don't think so. Go look at my painting video.
I can't at the minute.
It's a bit busy.
No, I don't think they are. I think you're right.
I don't think they are. No, I don't think they are.
No, I think I'm good. But yeah, that was me. But what about you, Mike? What have you been doing then?
I finished my other Nelly the Elephant. There we are. So
Damn
there we
nice
go.
it is too.
There we
Very,
are.
very nice.
Yes,
So I've just got to put the snow on, but this one took a little bit longer because I decided to do a painting video on it, which I decided instead of just doing the elephant, I did the elephant, the crew, the howdah, the little big men transfers, all of it. So I had about 2 hours worth of clips to try and work down. I've got it into a 20-minute long video now. So that's hopefully going to come out tomorrow, but my microphone broke. So when I was trying to do the voiceover, it went really badly. So yeah, it's that's it. That's all I've done. I played another game of Operation Squad on Wednesday, the World War II skirmish game. I'm really into that now. I'm really quite excited about it. I'm thinking of trying to do a 3x3 Fall of Berlin skirmish board.
Really?
Well, that'd be fun.
Well, everyone, I know you
That'd be
guys
really
do
good.
Stalingrad, and I see quite a lot of Stalingrad stuff, and I thought I want to, or maybe I don't know, maybe something else, maybe another city fight. There's enough of them, so but I really, really enjoy it. And now I've found 75 army lists online for free. I'm really quite excited. So
I was going to ask you that when you posted the partisan one the other night in the chat.
yeah,
I was going to ask you, are they actually available online?
yeah, it's just one. If you go on,
Sweet.
I'll just send you a document. I downloaded it, so it's free. And
cool.
but they've got. I was telling Ken, they've actually broken down, for example, the German. So instead of just having, say, Waffen SS or whatever, or certain units in the demo, each unit has its own army list and varying stats, dependent on things they, how good they are and things like, which is just nicer than being a more general thing. We're playing again on Wednesday, so I'm going to try and we're playing a 600-point game, which I think I'm going to try and take something a little bit more shooty this time. So I think it'll still only be about 8 or 9 guys.
Yeah. So, right. So when you're saying it's broke down, then, so it's like the SS Adolf Hitler, like that you get
Liebstandarte,
Liebstandarte Führer Adolf Hitler, isn't it? Yeah.
That's really, really good, actually. I
yeah,
like
it's all broken down, and the Russian one is you can have a penal battalion.
Oh, that is
Russians.
cool. You got it.
Oh wow!
Which I thought wicked. And yeah, I'll send you guys the file. I can just send it in the email or over the chat. But I really recommend trying it out. But as we found out, if you get caught in the open, you're dead. It's that you're dead. It's ridiculous. I thought I still had a bit of a bolt action brain, where it's like, oh, he's gonna have to. It's really hard to kill. Like if it's not.
Yeah.
Not if you're in the open. You
Just
need
gun
to
them down.
cover. Well, what's quite interesting, sorry, I'll shut up in a second. But what's quite interesting in this, when you in a lot of the war games I play, when you draw a line of sight, if someone is in hard cover, they just get a hard cover save. Yeah, for example, you only get one save, and you take the best save that applies to you, if that makes sense. But in this, when you draw a line of sight, if you cross, say, a low wall and you're shooting at someone behind a window, they all add up. So all the modifiers add up, and the modifiers are done in D6. So you actually roll dice to then minus off of your roll. So, for example, being behind a wall would add 2d6 to your save, basically. And if you're behind a window, that adds another 2d6. You'd be rolling 4d6. So if you get somebody in the open, you've really got to think about cover. I really like it.
Yeah,
that sounds really good.
Yeah, it does sound quite tactical and quite fun. It sounds like something you can do a little campaign sort of out of, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's an experience system in it, and a small progression. We haven't gone as far as trying vehicles yet, because you have to assign a duty to each of the crew. And it tells you what tasks they can do. So you really get a lot more feel, I think, for what people are doing. So you can have someone spotting the main gun, and then you can be also trying to radio your other guys to get them over and things like that. So
I'll tell you what,
it's worth checking out.
I'll tell you what we should all do then. we should all do, because I know your laptop would struggle to do it, Steve, wouldn't it? Tabletop sim, but we could do like a stream. Like I could stream the table, and we could all like watch sort of thing. I'm sure there's a way we could work out. We could all play it on like Tabletop Simulator, couldn't we? The four of us.
Yeah.
Just give it a go.
It's
then,
really, it's and you'll be pleased to know that my leader got taken out with a grenade to the face, and they are brutal, absolutely brutal in it.
That is pretty cool.
I can't imagine that goes well. Things go well after you get a grenade in the face.
No. I was kind of like, he might survive. Yeah.
Do you even get a saving roll on that?
The way it works is a little bit like Dead Man's Hand. Okay, so you roll on your basic skill roll is 3d6. So you roll 3d6 and you add the skill level of the model who is shooting, which on average is 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And then you apply range modifiers for your weapon. So, for example, a rifle at medium range adds 3. So you'd roll 3d6, add 4 for your skill and 3 for the range. So 3d6 plus 7. And a kill is 16 or more.
Right,
That's
okay.
not hard to get. But when you start getting the modifiers of, are you shooting at a moving target? Have you moved? Are they behind a tree that's then behind a wall? And have they shot? Are they, that's when it starts adding up. And the states are 10 or less is a miss. 11, 12, and 13 is shaken. So you just got to spend an action to get yourself back in the game, or you can retreat towards your deployment zone. 14 or 15 is wounded, so you're shaken and you don't get to add your skill bonus to anything, and you move d6 less on your move each time. And then 16 plus is dead. If you get wounded a second time, you're dead. It's very easy to die.
Yeah, it sounds it, doesn't it?
I guess the games are pretty quick as well.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we played our little game that I sent you guys the other night in about an hour and a half. And like I said, it's like a you go, I go reaction. So Dom, if you were say it was your turn, you had priority, you could say, I'm going to activate my my paratrooper. He's going to run across the road, and I can react to that and say, right, well, my guy down the road is going to run across the road as well in the opposite direction. And then you choose how many models you want to activate, up to 3, and I can choose up to 3 reactions. I don't have to react, but I can try and shoot you before you do that. If you make it across the road before me, then I've lost my action. If I didn't, then I've shot you and you're in the middle of the road.
You can.
It sounds very similar to 148 Tactic. Sounds very, very similar. It's
nostalgia.
It's a Kickstarter last year.
No,
I wasn't actually leading up on that one. No. This is a new game. It was I think it was towards the end of last year it came out. Rule set. It's designed for 148 scale figures, but you can play it with 28s as well. I think the Italian guy came up with the rule system, and it's exactly that. It's like individual figures. You probably have about 4 or 5 figures on the per side, and they each got characteristics. Like you get a handgunner, you get a machine gunner, you get a submachine gun guy who's good with a grenade, that sort of thing, and it looks like you say very, very brutal. If you get caught in the open,
it is. Yeah, 148 is brutal. It's I think from the games I've seen played, like demo games, you have character cards, and they've got named characters, and they've got like submachine gunner, close combat specialist, etc., etc. But yeah, the actual combat is brutal, and the games, because you only have 4 or 5 soldiers on each side. Yeah, the games can last relatively hardly any time at all.
I think they decided to be played on like a 2 foot by 2 foot table. So they're close up, quick games. And in fact, I saw those mad buggers down in Norway. They're doing playtesting a fantasy version of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty cool, isn't it?
So I think those sort of games are quite fun. They're just quick fire games that
anyone can have a go at.
A couple of figures aside.
Yeah. Don't need to get into it.
I like the look of it as well, because vehicles look like they're a big deal. I mean, I've got the rules for a Tiger. If you wanted a Tiger, I mean, give you an idea that my 9 guys were just shy of 500 points, and they're all standard. A Tiger is 1,600 points. So, But in this, like a light tank is a really, really big deal. A jeep, and the partisans can nick jeeps and jerry rig vehicles and do all sorts of little fun things.
That's pretty cool.
But the crucial thing, Martin, is can we refight Fury?
Oh,
Yes.
I was just about to say that.
We can.
No.
Maybe
we could do reverse Fury and have a tiger in the middle in mobile.
Oh, perfect. But, right, that's the game we've got to play with Steve because he'll love that one.
Yes. I can already think of several scenarios. It should be quite interesting.
I can think of several scenarios with what Steve's going to do as well.
Yeah, just run
Yeah,
away.
just the thought of it just gives me chest pains. It really does.
I can assure you that is not a good thing, Steve.
No.
But yeah,
that's why I won't watch that film ever again because it's just. Sorry.
Has anybody? Sorry, just what we're talking about. Just very quick. Has anyone seen that Greyhound film with Tom Hanks?
no,
The submarine one. Is that
because it's on Apple?
I didn't know if anyone had seen it.
No, not yet.
No.
Not yet.
No.
Wait until it comes to a proper channel.
Yeah. Oh, the Kaiser's here from Modelling for Advantage.
Yes, he's popped in and said
Hello,
hello.
mate.
Do you know?
Ewan and Aaron Lowe. Jay from NI is here. Wayne Broadhead. Captain Nash's Pirate Adventures. Okay,
nice.
Best names. The Wah. I can't do it. The Wah Productions.
Productions.
And Rob Jones. Hello, mate.
I've got Duncan FX, Paul Paint Shed. Paul, he's now called. Hi, Paul. We've got Cludden Painting. Hi, Rory. How you doing? Battle Knights. Hiya, how you doing? He's saying hi, fellas. How's everybody? Leslie, obviously, taking the piss out of me, you, everybody, really. So that's all good. We've got the Kaiser here as well. Saying evening all. HM Scale Modelling is here. Who else I've got? Oh, yes. And Peter Little's just arrived. He said, sorry he's a bit late, but he got there in the end. Well, I think I only just got around to saying hi to you, Peter, so you weren't late at all. Sorry about that. And he says, good stuff on the 95th. Yeah, too right. Do you know, I missed a trick. They didn't do a T-shirt of this because I should have got one and sent it for Leslie. For Hayley, sorry. I thought that would have been
Leslie
hilarious.
on the frame, mate.
I have. Yeah. Send it to Hayley, but I didn't. I don't think they did a T-shirt version of it, which was a shame.
Sheila. I'd like to say that I'm disappointed, but I'm not.
You're clearly not.
She might even ask you for Christmas, Martin.
She might.
Hayley, ask him for it for Christmas.
She's looking at me a bit weird now. No. We didn't get to play.
Would I do that?
Yeah, I don't know. She just looks suspicious now. Dragon's Thrall has just dropped in. I feel I need it. That's my brother-in-law, who, if you've watched the battle reports from Lord of the Rings, if you watch my last one, the 15-minute long battle report, he's been doing fairly well.
Do you ever win a game, Martin?
Yeah, I beat you.
Did you? Did you though? Did you?
You walked into that one.
It was like instant. Yeah, you. I beat you.
Yeah, you. I don't get many of them, but I remember them. I remember exactly who it was. Before that, it was probably like 2011. I don't know.
Brilliant.
Right then, let's do it. Let's go back to 1974. When you guys were Dom, when was your? All right then, Dom. Give us.
I was 8, mate.
You were 8. All right, let's go to 90. Let people work out your age now.
I don't mind. I'm 55 next year. There you go.
He looks 42, doesn't he? Look at that. God. But yeah, all right then. So let's start with you, Dom. Then so let's go back nostalgia. Then so when I say nostalgia to you, Dom, what does it mean?
Do I have to go all wibbly wobbly like in the movie? It's like
He'd hop.
the trouble is being old, Ken, is that you can't remember that far back. But yeah. So how far do you want me to go back to
when you think
birth?
to when you think your favourite, like when you were younger, you had really good memories of gaming. What was like your first sort of like amazing when you can think now? If you think, oh yeah, that was really cool. I really, really, really enjoyed that, and not necessarily what got you into gaming, but what you enjoyed about that sort of time. What did you like?
So I used to. Oh gosh, that's a tricky one. I should have thought about this and didn't. So I do remember. So when I was very young, well, not very very young, but I probably was around sort of 14, 15. I used to go to Heston Wargaming Club on the edge of Heathrow Airport, and because a bloke there who I knew is actually I mentioned before, the guy who got me into, or sort of got me hooked into wargaming properly, was a chap I went to school with, and his dad was into 15mm Napoleonics, and I went round to his place one time, and his dad had all these Napoleonics out on the table. He was making a Confederacy of the Rhine Army. He was representing every single battalion, squadron in 15mm. I can't remember what the rule system was in those, but whatever it was, and it was like, and just got me completely hooked. And he used to go to the Heston Wargaming Club, so I went along there for not often, because I used to try and get my mum and dad to drop me, and it was a bit of a way for me, but we did, and I used to go there, and there were some fabulous games that they used to put on. They had two massive halls, like big community halls that they used to run the club from.
Yeah,
and they would run these enormous First World War dogfight games, and they weren't. I can't remember what scale they were, but you know those Wings of War models, those sort of size.
yeah,
they were basically that size.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know, about 2 inches, 3 inches wide wingspan, something like that. And you can imagine putting them out on a floor that must have been 50 feet, 60 feet square.
yeah.
And the entire club would take 2 planes each, and we would all play against each other on the floor.
Yeah,
And they were all on little stands that went up and down, and they were, I think there was homebrew rules. I think somebody had made these rules, and that was just fantastic. And so I remember that vividly, and it was great fun to do. And also, they used to do a Christmas game, which was always a laugh. That was generally was a fantasy game, and some guy would create these amazing landscapes of. I can remember one that was sort of had this massive mountain, and there was all these pathways round it, and we were all given 2 or 3 figures, and we had to play, whatever side you were playing, and it ran the game. The rules they developed were like a rock paper scissors type thing, so there was like a flow chart. You go, strike, and then on your chart you had to try and block that, so you had to then head down to a block. But if you did certain characters and certain races had an ability to block more and attack more and everything else. It was really cleverly done. It's quite difficult to describe, but it was really well done. And those kind of mass games were just great fun. Just because as a young, 14, 15 or 13-year-old kid, I can't remember how old I was, that was just brilliant. And it was so welcoming. The old Grosnards would sort of let you in on those few days and let you say, here you go, play with this beautifully painted figures that I'd never, had hoped to have matched in those days. So I used to remember those, and then just going along to wargaming shows and just sort of wandering around going in awe of all these wonderful things, thinking I want to have this, but having no money to buy any of them, but just thinking I want to buy that, I want to buy that. So those are the earliest sort of wargaming memories I had.
Yeah, exactly. Do you remember your first ever model you actually bought, Tom? Do you remember what that might have been?
Well, it depends what you say. It depends. So I grew up, where I grew up, there was a proper old school model shop, not model shop, a toy shop in the village I grew up, and and they used to do those Britain figures, the metal. Highly gloss painted on a metal basis, and they used to do all those. You know the ones I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I can't think of
Yeah, like
brands.
there was like Vikings and Normans and things like that.
Yeah, all sorts of things, and you could get like guardsmen in red tunics with the busbies, and get bands and all these sort of things. Anyway, so when I was particularly good, which wasn't very good as a kid, very often as a kid, my mum or my gran usually would take me into this shop and let me buy one or two of these, or probably just one of them. So that was what those were the sort of first figures, but they weren't real wargaming figures. They were, but the first proper figures I remember were air fixes and things like that, just the good old fashioned plastic air fixes.
Yeah,
they were the ones, and we used to, me and my mate, another mate from school, we used those Bruce Quarry rules. I don't remember those. Napoleon, I think they're called Napoleonic battles in miniatures, and they were a little book, and we used to fight battles from that using the FX figures that we terribly badly painted. And bear in mind, in those days, you could literally only get British, French, Prussian landwear, cuirassiers, and I think there was French hussars. I think that was about it. That was about all you could get. So anything else, you just had to try and paint differently than we had to do it, and it was amazing. But you know what? We had great fun, and those rules. I in fact, I rebought them a little while ago, a few years ago, because just for nostalgia's sake.
Yeah.
Because they were great. They had all different characteristics, national characteristics for all the different countries in the Napoleonic Wars, and I used to love that.
Yeah. Did the rule book smell of Did it smell of the 80s? The rule book with the one you bought?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Had that 80s tinge to it. Definitely, yeah. Definitely.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
But yeah, was that like?
We used to do all that kind of stuff. It was great, and I used to love. I used to go down the library and get any kind of wargaming book. I mean, I'll have to explain to you, Ken, what a library is, but that was a place where you used to be able to borrow books for free, right?
I've been to.
I used to go down there.
Used to have a library card. Yeah.
I thought they'd gone by the time you were a kid, but
believe it or not, there's still one in my village. Yeah. There is still one here. Yeah, it's still a library here. Yeah, it's still a library here. Should go in it. There's probably some hidden gems in there,
You'll find there will be, and that's where I used to get all those books. I'd go and get all these. I probably got them all up on the bookcase there, but they're had lovely pictures of massed battles, and they'd refight all these famous battles in miniature, and I just used to sit and just drool on them. I just loved them. These library books, week after week.
So yeah, no, that's all right. So I was kind of like an interview with you, isn't it? Really, I was like saying, like, obviously, you like your rule books and stuff. I know you like your rules. I've seen how many rule books you got. Do you think there's something else to having a physical book then back then than if someone said to you when you were like 20 or 18? Were you hobbying through that whole time? And if someone said, if you could have all these on a digital scale instead of having a physical copy like we've got now, like a PDF, would you prefer it like that, Dom, or do you prefer rule books as they are?
Ken, I'm still the person that buys musical CDs, and if I could, I'd buy vinyl. So I can't get on with online books. I mean, I've got a few, but I don't like reading them. Physical book is the way for me. Always has been. And I used to sit for hours, literally hours, just pouring my way through the army lists and the books, just trying to work out armies that I might want to play with, even though I had no chance of ever having the figures for them. But I just used to spend hours doing it. That was what I love to do. Still do in many ways. I love just the physical rule book for me is just the perfect solution. I just love it, really do. But that's because I'm old school.
Yeah, no, that's it. I'd said to someone, imaginary conflicts. But I found a copy of Donald Featherstone's Complete Wargaming at my school library. After 5 years of being the only guy to borrow it, the librarian let me keep it when I went to college. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
but that was the other thing.
That's exactly it. That's what used to happen.
Yeah. So obviously wargaming's never been I would say like now it's probably as popular as ever been. Was it still classed a geeky thing, Don, when you were young? Was it?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I was like everybody else. You got to a certain age, and you wouldn't tell anyone that you were a wargamer.
No.
Playing with toy soldiers, how uncool was that?
Yeah.
So no, absolutely, it was the same. But I think
Was that the
that's
same
where
at
a lot
uni?
of
Was it?
people
Was it the same at
kind of-
uni?
Actually, less at uni, because I think at uni we didn't do wargaming with toy soldiers. We played board games and Risk and things like that, which was cool.
Yeah.
So people used to play that in the evening over a few jars or whatever we could get cheap down the offie. And so yeah, I mean, I don't remember having such an issue with it, because it was say board games were relatively cool, or at least not uncool, put it that way.
Yeah.
But figure gaming, yeah, I think that was still.
Still.
But there was quite an active D&D clubs, those sort of thing. They they were quite active. But again, I think they were the geeks. They were the that was the chess clubs and those sort of people that did that. That
I was in a
if
chess
you wanted
club.
to look cool and go for the girls, then you didn't do that.
No, you didn't. You didn't go. You didn't go to the chess club. Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely.
No.
Sadly,
not really. Or at least you did. You enjoyed it, but you didn't tell anyone. That's
yeah,
the thing.
you did not.
you?
You did not blag about it. Definitely not. But yeah. So
Not really. No.
So if I said the word nostalgia to you, then Dom, what do you think, wargaming wise, like just takes it to you? Is it that time where you saw all the 15mm stuff and you thought that's what I want to do? Is that what you would say, or would you say seeing your first convention where you saw all those figures laid out?
Do you know? I think back to those days, and because it was what got me into the hobby and what made kind of fueled the addiction for later life that I'm now costing me a fortune. And I wouldn't turn it back at all. But I don't. It's not like I long for all those days again. Apart from probably a bit slimmer and a bit less creaky than I am now. But apart from that, I don't really. I love now, because I think today the sort of figures we have and the ranges and variety of rules and figures is just so enormous. I've said it before. I think it's a golden era of wargaming. I just think it's just.
Yeah, it's just expanding.
I remember going down to a shop in Windsor that used to exist in Windsor, where I live, very close to where I lived, and they used to do Hinchcliffe and minifigs figures, and I think I've told the story before. They used to sort of go in and sort of almost drool on the window of the shop, and just sort of go in and ask him if I could have a look at a couple of the figures, and then maybe if I was really lucky, if I'd managed to do a bit of chores at home and had a bit of pocket money, I might buy 2 or 3 infantry or 1 cavalry, and that was it.
Yeah.
And they're so basic compared to what they are now. But that was what I remember, because it was all you had in those days. So now I think today is far superior. Although I do miss those big battles.
Yeah.
I was thinking about the other day. I was thinking the really big refights of doing the refight of Waterloo in 28mm or using Grand Manor or something like that was just awesome. Absolutely awesome. And I do miss those big battles, which I think we've kind of got away from mainly as a hobby. But nostalgia, nah, that's for the past, mate.
No, that's fair enough. No, that was good. Let's go on to Steve. Let's go to Steve. So, nostalgia for you, Steve. What gets your juices flowing? Tell us a bit about when you.
I'm going to show you my nostalgia.
This better be appropriate. Hey, there we go.
It's my copy of
Warhammer.
Yeah, Warhammer 40,000 original Rogue Trader. Cast your, I'll cast my mind back to 1991.
Good year, that. Very good year, especially January.
All right, now. So, my mate and his cousin had just got into 40k, and they told me about it, and they showed me the figures. And back in those days, we didn't collect armies; we just collected just motley collections of figures. But then I got my first White Dwarf. I think it was it might have been, what number was it? It was quite early on. I got 147, I think it might have been. And in there was a battle report. It was Eldar versus Blood Angels. It was Andy Chambers and Jervis Johnson. And after reading that battle report, I just completely fell in love with the game. I was actually quite late to historical gaming, so all my nostalgia is sort of sci-fi Games Workshop based.
Yeah.
But that Christmas, I pestered my mum and dad, and for Christmas I got the exact army from that battle report.
Right. Okay.
And I was back in them days. My painting was so crap. It was just shockingly bad. It really was. But I just.
Sorry, I was going to say.
For me,
how old are we talking? How old were you back then?
1991. I was 13.
13, teenager.
So I wasn't the best. But for me, it's just we used to go to our local games club every Tuesday, and we just play 40k, like Rogue Trader all the time. And we every couple of weeks we'd pop into Liverpool and go to Games Workshop, spend hours in there. I just enjoyed those days. 1991 was 40k Rogue Trader. 93 was actually 93 was this type.
Oh, he's come with all the props, hasn't he? Blimey, look at
that. Second edition 40k, yeah.
Second edition 40k.
Yeah.
And I've even got my Eldar Codex as well.
You still got it?
What
a codex!
Like, about 6 months ago.
What a codex!
See what I didn't, as much as I think we played more second ed than Rogue Trader. What I didn't like about it, it was too bright and shiny. Original Rogue Trader is dark and disturbing and genuinely a bit unsettling. And then from that we had this all polished, shiny, all encompassing box. But we played that for years. And then we played Blood Bowl, Necromunda. In fact, the 90s for me were just Games Workshop games. I didn't really play any historicals.
A lot of people say that's the good period of Games Workshop. A lot of people say it's like classic, isn't it?
I would absolutely agree with that 100%. Like I say, original 40k, Blood Bowl, sort of the second ed in 94, Necromunda in 95, 96. They were just really, really good days.
You forgot about classic.
It was back in the day when
epic, mate. Epic.
What?
Epic.
Oh yeah, Space Marine. Yes.
Oh yeah.
So we play. I used to play that virtually every Sunday around my mate's house. So it was just a good time because we were into so many games. We always had a game we could play either around someone's house or on the club on a Tuesday night. So when I think about nostalgia, it's those days in the 1990s when we did so many games, and it was just it was less cutthroat. It wasn't all about the money. It just seemed to be for the enjoyment. That's what people were playing it for. And I mean, it was still kind of on the expensive side compared to some other hobbies, but you didn't really care because you knew you were going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I've even said if I could put together some original sort of army lists for Rogue Trader 40k, I would still be playing that game to this day because it was a fantastic game. Because you could play it as a proper war game, or you could play it. We used to play it as a role play game. We used to have we all had bands of Rogue Traders with their sort of retinue, and we'd fight small scale games using the rules.
That's quite cool.
And then from 2000 to about 2004, I just wasn't. I wasn't in the hobby. We all just stepped away from it. And I got back into it in 2004 through Flames of War.
Okay.
It just kind of escalated from there. But those days, 1991 to about 1995, they were my happiest days of gaming. But I'll definitely agree with what Dom said. I think the days we're living in now are probably the definite golden age for wargaming. There's so many different companies, there's so many rule sets. we've got online forums, we've got YouTube, we've got Discord. The actual community is so much greater these days than it was back then, because we didn't really have a community. It was just a odd groups of friends that it was like some kind of secret cabal. You didn't talk about the hobby because you'd get harassed and picked on by the big boys at school who weren't into it.
Oh, the cool kids.
Yes, the cool kids. I was never a cool kid.
No, not me.
But it's just one of those. I think I'd say today is people will look back on these years as nostalgic as well, because it's just a great time to be a wargamer. There's so many choices. The community, especially the online community as well, it's just exploded over the past 5 or 6 years. And there's just a great sense of a sort of solidarity amongst gamers and hobbyists. I think that for me is what was missing back when I was gaming in the early 90s. There was no online forums, no internet. My God, how old do I sound there? There was no internet back when I was a kid.
Crazy, isn't it? It's weird to think that people have been born and there's always been the internet, isn't it? So when I was born, the internet went out. So it is weird, isn't it? Anyone born now has never experienced life without the internet and tapless card payments. It's just even weirder.
So what do you reckon, Steve? Do you reckon wargaming can ever be cool?
Yes. I mean, I will admit it took me years. It's like, I don't know, it was like saying I had some awful, horrible drug addiction or something.
You're addicted to plastic crack. It's plastic crack.
Something you kept to yourself, and you wouldn't talk amongst other people. If they weren't in your sort of circle of it's like, do you know what? Martin might appreciate this. It's like being a metalhead.
Yeah.
If you walk past somebody you don't know, but they're a metalhead, there's a look. You just have this instant, yes, you are one of us, type thing. And it's the same with gaming these days. I think people are a hell of a lot more open about it. When I was younger, it was like I say, it was like being part of Skull and Bones or the Masons or something.
It's like a cult.
You didn't talk about it.
Board gaming's had a big explosion, hasn't it? Recently, board gaming is, in the last 5 years, board gaming's gone massive. And, and I've started in board gaming channels to starting to do things because games, a bit like things like Star Wars Legion, and to be fair to it, they Age of Sigmar and stuff like that, people have started to delve into that, and so give it another 5 years, I think, and then you'll find this whole new generation of people who've been board gaming, like say 10 years ago they weren't. They'll now be into it.
Yeah,
I think we'll see that.
Well, look at that bloody Lord of the Rings game. That ain't no
Isn't
board
that
game.
Weird?
that's miniatures
Why
game,
is board gaming cool and wargaming not? That's what I don't understand. It's always been like that. I mean, board gaming, is it because people are used to playing Monopoly and things like that? But it just seems like that's much more acceptable. Always has been.
I think with board games, you can sit around with your friends, have a few beers, explain the rules to someone in 10 or 15 minutes. I mean, imagine sitting down and saying, right, we're having a night in around this table, and then trying to explain an entire war games rule set to someone in 10 minutes. It's
a good video. It's a good video.
Yeah, it's not even that, is it? It's, we're having a night in, get the beers in, and what we're going to do is we're going to sit here, we're going to take these sprues, and then we're going to clear in all the mould lines. And that's all we're going to do all night. We're not going to play, we're just going to clean mould lines. Fucking great, isn't it?
Which is why one of my favourite games, and it's one of my most prized possessions. It's my copy of the Judge Dredd board game from 1982, and that, to me, that's the best board game ever made, because it's so Judge Dredd. It's so 2000 AD. But you can play that with 3 or 4 friends in about an hour and a half, and everybody has a good time playing that game. It's just, I just think it's become more, like I say, more acceptable. Do you know what else has helped as well? All like these famous celebrities coming out and admitting that they played D&D. I think that helped as well.
True.
Yeah. Big Bang Theory, that made D&D good, didn't it?
On that note, have you seen that Night Models has released the version of the Justice League, but it's the Big Bang Theory lot? So you actually have the Big Bang Theory people as miniatures now.
That's quite. I quite like the big.
I
quite like the Big Bang Theory, Martin.
I like it. I just don't like what it did to D&D.
I've never seen it. I've never watched an episode of it. I haven't seen what it's about. I don't think I could. I think generally watching E4 is bad for your general health and safety anyway. So I'm not going to be watching it.
Avoid that.
There's always good documentaries to watch.
Yeah, catch them on the replay on day.
But yeah, would you say then, Steve, back in the 90s, then going, because like now you just walk into a Games Workshop, you're there for half an hour sort of thing. Yeah, look at browse. Would you say going back then when you used to go to Liverpool and that, you used to spend most of the day in there, or would you just pop in, pop out? Yeah, it's like a day.
No,
thing.
it'd be a whole day in there because there'd always be an exhibition game.
Yeah.
And you'd always end up playing games with people you didn't know, and you just always got along with them. It was just a really cool way. I mean, we'd get the train over for about 9 o'clock, and we'd leave the store at about 4:30. It would be literally a full day out. In the Games Workshop store, it was just really good days. For me, the nostalgia aspect is it was something completely radically new. I'd never seen anything like it. I remember the first time I looked through the 40k rule book, and I was like, this is absolutely insane. Where did this come from? And just the games we used to play, it was just happy days. Sort of halcyon days of throwing dice and being crap at painting. That's how I'd really sum it up.
No, that's cool. That's cool.
And not caring.
No, exactly.
And not care. No. That's another thing is that although I put a video on my channel last year about it was a sort of a motivational video about why you should never give up painting, because the very, very first figure I bought with my own money was the Lehman Russ figure. It came with 2 wolves, and I sat down and painted that thing over the course of a weekend, and I took my time, and it was just I was made up with how good it was. And then on the Tuesday, we went to the games club. I took this figure with me, and this guy who was there looked at it and said to me, "Do you want me to repaint that for you?"
Really?
Bob.
Yeah. So that for me, that moment was the single biggest motivator in why I stuck at painting and got better and better and better, because to have someone stomp on your hopes, dreams, and aspirations in such a gobshitey way it's definitely a good motivational tool. Let's put it that way. So thanks for that, mate. You really inspired and motivated me to do a bit better. But that was just one thing that always springs to mind.
Well, he helped you do quite a lot, didn't he, with the hobby then, by the sounds of it, like your channel and stuff, because you wouldn't be doing your channel if you gave up hobby, wouldn't you? This is it.
No.
Quite crazy, isn't it?
I do have a lot to be thankful for, but it's weird that one moment in the hobby can convince you just to. I didn't really enjoy painting back in those days. It was just something I did so I could throw some dice around. Whereas now I'm the complete opposite. I occasionally throw some dice around, but I much prefer to put my time and effort into painting. So yeah, I've got a big thank you to him for, like I say, trying to destroy my dreams but failing miserably.
he actually did the complete opposite. So thank you, whoever that was. We've got a friend,
mate.
He's still a dickhead.
Martin.
Still a dickhead, yeah.
we're coming to you, mate.
To me?
Yeah. Come on, then, Martin. When did you start gaming? What was that moment?
When did I start?
Yeah,
I started. I started gaming. Someone bought me. I think it was my gran bought me it was called Dragon's Quest, and it was when TSR were based in Cherry Hinton, which was where I live.
Yeah.
I think I was about 9, and that was like a starter D&D kind of thing. Anyone who's played D&D, if they remember the horrors of THACO, and trying the maths that you had to do to work out what you had to roll to hit somebody, it was that system. But that came with these tiny little plastic bendy miniatures that I painted really, really badly with enamels. And then I just like playing those kind of games. But if you're talking war game, that kind of war game was someone brought White Dwarf to school.
Yeah.
In about 93, I think, 93, 94. And I remember which one it was because it had a bunch of blood angels getting out of a Land Raider and everything was on fire. It was in the second edition box set. It was the cover of the War Gear book.
Oh, okay.
It's like a big yellow thing.
Yeah,
and it came with a free cardboard battle bunker.
Oh, nice.
That you could make back in those days. And I went to Games Workshop and I bought the box of 6 plastic Space Marines just in their little,
monopose
chest pose. Yeah. And then I painted 3 of them black and 3 of them red and had little games against myself with made up rules.
Yeah, I did that. Yeah.
Yeah, using the dice out of my Dragon's Quest, so I was using D20s and things like that, and I don't know what it was. I remember trying to teach my dad my insane rules, and I think he just walked off in the end. But if you say this sort of like wargaming nostalgia to me, I think of the mid late 90s with my friend, mainly my friend Matt, and playing on usually a Saturday afternoon around mine. And absolutely stomping all over him with my undead army. I remember vividly he had chaos, and I worked out very, very swiftly how to beat him. Because do you remember the old? I've still got it actually. It's one of the things I haven't sold. The old Magic box set used to get. You had all the cards in it, all the spells, everything like that. I can't remember what it was called for. But it was Dark Millennium was the 40k equivalent. I can't remember. Was it just Realm of Magic or Realm of Chaos?
I remember Dark. I remember Dark Millennium.
Yeah, and it was the equivalent. And I remember there was 2 things in it that caused me to just ruin him basically, and that was a spell called Curse of Years, which made Chaos Warriors, who were these amazing and still are these amazing fighters, just crumble into dust. And because they couldn't move very fast, I just stood there and they all just came towards me and fell into dust. And I remember the thing called the Chaos Rune Sword, which is usable by the undead, which made the already OP vampire just ridiculously godlike, and having many arguments with him about it.
Did he call you a cheater?
He didn't call me a cheater. He said, "What's the point in having an army and not moving?" And I said, "Well, what's the point in having a game and not winning?" So that was
That's come back to bite you right in the ass.
Yes. Again, no, except when I played you. So no, nostalgia. I mean, we used to go down Games Workshop. We'd arrange we'd go and get some sandwiches or Burger King or whatever, and then we'd go in there. And we never used to take our models down there though. I remember we always used to play with their demo sets, and we always said to them, can we play? And they went, yeah, but if someone comes along and they want to learn how to play, then you'll have to move. No one ever did. We would just we would just be on those, and that was how. I mean, I was wargaming up until realistically I turned about 17, I think, and then after that discovered other things, and then I went to university. It was after I came back from university that I got into it again. So and then that was from there. It was back into Warhammer, but then very, very swiftly into Flames of War, like Steve. Then Flames of War led its way to Bolt Action, and then it kind of just cascaded from there. But no, nostalgia to me, I do think of Games Workshop. I think quite fondly of Games Workshop and the games we used to have and the sort of scenarios we used to come up with. And I remember reading like all the patchwork of lore as well that we used to come up with our own games, because you didn't have this massive background that exists now. We used to come up with all sorts of random things where you were like trying to find Primarchs or fighting over bits and bobs that Horus left. And I remember all that kind of stuff. And we never did proper army building either. We just played with whatever the hell we want. You want 5 Land Raiders? That's fine. That's absolutely fine.
To be fair, that's still stuck with you though. That stuck with you really, because you lose a lot of points, do you? You don't use a lot of point systems.
Not in Black Powder. It enrages me.
Yeah.
I don't like. You got me in an awful lot of trouble, Martin. When he turned up at mine to the other day to play a game, we played it. He said, "Oh," and I said, "How's the army list?" And I worked out the sides and what. He said, "What?" Martin just sort of divvies it up, and it's like he goes one of those, one of that. It was like, what's going on?
I was like,
So
points?
there
What
are
is
points.
this word?
You're allowed that.
I think it's
Mark, I was going to
because
say, with coming from like a Games Workshop background, do you ever look at the current state of like 40k these days and think, what the bloody hell's going on with that?
I look at 40k now and I kind of feel like I don't know. It's still got the grim dark thing going. I'll give it that, but it's got so bloated with extra stuff that I don't. It doesn't interest me. I mean,
It's too mainstream.
I liked
isn't it?
Kill. The thing was Kill Team. Strip that away. Kill Team to me felt more like traditional 40k that I know. That came out, and it stripped it all back. And because I was watching a video where someone was like, how to play 40k, and I was like, oh, I should vaguely understand most of this. And they were doing things, and I was like, what the hell? What is this? Well, I don't understand. I'm just getting old, you know.
I watched a 9th edition battle report, and I was sat there, and there was dribble coming out my mouth. I was like that because I had no idea what was going on. I was like, what is this? I know games have got to evolve and companies move on and you build on things, but I don't know. It's like John said before about still he wanted like vinyls. I mean, it's sort of 40k original is the vinyl record, and the current one is no. You can just download a song when you want. But
say what you like about 40k and Games Workshops. I mean, the fact is that there aren't many rule systems or even rule versions that have existed for as long as it has, right? I mean, there's still fundamentally it's the same rules. I think, you know, I look at some of the stuff I used to play with. I mean, there's still some War Games research stuff going around, but it's pretty much dead on its feet. And that's probably the longest historical period, I think, or rule set I can think of. Somebody probably in the chat will say something completely different. But I think you've got to admire the fact they've managed, and they've done that by constantly reinventing the game, haven't they? I mean, it's the same basic 40k system, but as you say, they've just added a hell of a lot to it because now they're trying to sell all different ranges of figures and
which is fair enough. As a business, they need to develop and they need to stay separate and protect their IP, and you know that's how they've chosen to do it. I think back about because we used to remember Talisman and Warhammer Quest and
Warhammer Quest,
Space Crusade and all of that, and it was all quite tongue in cheek. I remember it being like the orcs were quite goofy. The Marines were quite sort of like stupid, like looking. To be fair, they're all kind of like they had no necks, and I'd actually say it's probably become more serious, not in a bad way, because I say I really like the lore, but the actual gameplay seems to be a lot more serious. I don't know if that's with the advent of more and more competitive play.
Massive competitively, isn't it? Massive.
Yeah,
the game is kind of built for that, isn't it? It's now built for the competitive tournament play, and it is very much that side of things. But like you guys say, because obviously I never wargamed back in the 90s. Yeah, I had a box set, like 2nd edition Warhammer, but I didn't know what the hell it was. I had Blood Bowl as well, and I had some epic stuff. That's how I first ever got into it. But it's really weird because my nostalgia is now, but my nostalgia is reliving the stuff I missed out on. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah.
So the stuff I missed out on when I was younger, like you guys got to play, I get to play that for the first time. But as an adult,
do you know what that's called, Ken?
Yeah, being a kid.
That's called a midlife crisis.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
I'm not 30 yet. It's all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's
you were 30.
Yeah, no, not yet. But no, it is. It's just one of those things where I just think, because I hear like people talk about it and stuff like that. Like I can understand where Steve's coming from with Rogue Trader, because I've flicked through the Rogue Trader rulebook, and my god, there is some wacky shit you can do in that. Like there's like create your own character, and you can roll random D100s and end up with like a one-eyed Cyclops with parrot wings and fucking called Clyde.
Yeah. What I'm going to do, I'm going to find the scenario generator.
Yeah,
and I want to call it a random number. And let's see what we get.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Find it. While you're feeding that, it's like for me, that's why I like Epic so much, because like
Right, here we go.
Oh, go on, you got it.
I got a plot generator. Here we go. Yeah. So
what have I got?
Let's go on to. I'm just trying to find it. Here we go. This is chart 3, investigation. So pick a number between 1 and 100.
54.
54. So the governor of an imperial planet has requested aid in dealing with an outbreak of psychers.
Right, okay.
These have suddenly started to appear in great numbers, forming open groups which ravage the countryside. Groups may already be under the influence of psychic aliens.
That's cool.
Yeah.
You want to do the character one, man. You want to find the character one. There's some really cool things you can do. But whilst Steve's looking for that, it's like you can that's why I like Epic so much, because I heard so many good things. I can tell you what, and I know it's a lot of people's buttons, Epic, because when I went up to Warhammer World in January, I played Epic, and I tell you what, the amount of people that stopped and goes, "What is this, and where can I buy it?"
Yeah.
They were like, "Is this a new game system?" I said, "No, this is like Space Marine from 1991." And they were like, "Can I buy it?" I was like, "I don't think they sell it anymore." But they do like what was it, Titanicus now, but it was just crazy. Well, you found it, have you?
No, I just found a picture and the guy looks like Mr. Bean. Right, I'm gonna have to take a photo. I'm gonna take a photograph of this and send it to the chat, because this is absolutely insane.
Is this the guy that I'm thinking of, where the character generator is?
This is, yeah. I've just found rules for generating an assassin, rogue traders, assassins.
You'll find it. But yeah, that's kind of my nostalgia, is like reliving stuff that I never got to live. But I'm older, so I'm not getting that initial not know what the hell I'm doing sort of thing. So I get to look at it as I'm a 1990s 30-year-old man. get to live the 90s all over again in wargaming.
See,
which is really cool.
I'm a little bit scared about playing them again. I've got to be honest, because I have.
You don't want to ruin it,
right? Okay, no, yeah, I'll tell you why. Do you remember the TV show Night? You might not. Does anyone else remember the TV show Nightmare?
Oh,
no.
Right?
Yes.
I had really. Yeah, have you watched it recently?
Yeah, it's painful.
Yeah, so I said to Haley, I was like, this is brilliant. You know, I'm gonna watch it, and it was on Quest. And I watched it, and it was the biggest heap of shit that I've seen, and it absolutely wrecked it. And I'm scared to death. I know what you're saying. I have really fond memories of my 90s gaming. My 2000, I have really fond memories, and that's what they are. They're memories. Like Dom said, gaming now is better. There are new rule systems, new things. I don't want to go back and go, oh my god.
That's exactly what I feel, Martin, because I have those fond memories of those games that we used to play, years ago, and I think probably if I played them now, I'd be going, it's just rubbish. Why do you do it that way? Why didn't It's like people in the chat been talking about Hinchcliffe and minifigs figures, and it's like, yeah, they were great. Well, were they? I mean, they were great compared to what we had at the time, but they were in all one pose, and you had to paint them with enamel paints, which frigging were awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what these are, isn't it? That's what these are, Dom. That's what they are.
Yeah, that's what they've done.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they are. Everything in the same pose, all done with high enamel paints and a gloss varnish over the top.
That's it.
And it was just like a bloody nightmare. But
Yeah.
it was a lovely memory, but that's what it is, a memory.
Yeah, exactly. And I'd rather have a happy memory than sort of relive a bad one.
Yeah, but what about a rule system you didn't play in the 90s that you could have done? So, say you never played Epic, for example. Would you try Epic?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, mine. Yeah,
I played Epic.
Oh, you
Space Marine. I had I had Space Marine and Epic 40k.
Yeah,
I sold it quite recently.
I know. I wish you sold it to me. Didn't know, did we?
Yeah. No. No, I did. Yeah, I enjoy. To be fair, I enjoyed pretty much everything. The only Games Workshop game I didn't enjoy was Manor War. That was the only one I didn't like.
I really enjoyed that.
But I don't know why, because everything about it I should have liked. And I remember playing it in the shop, and again, I don't know if it's a case of my little 11-year-old, 12-year-old brain just couldn't cope with it, and it was just, I went, no, I want big guns, or I want the giant, monster with the big face. I just didn't. It didn't really sort of like connect with me at all. Blood Bowl did. Everything else did. Just Manor War never did.
You find it still or not?
Manor War didn't stay around very long at all. I think it had a life of about 2 years, and they just after that I think they just shit canned the whole thing, just got rid, and that was the end of it.
They're worth a lot of money now. The Manor War stuff. Worth a lot of money.
Sorry, Steve.
They were really good ships. I had a dwarf fleet. In fact, that was one of my first ever kit bashing experiences. I built myself a dwarf dreadnought just out of stuff lying around all over the place, and it was really, really good.
That's cool.
No, that's it. They're all in my chat. They're talking about some other ones like Chainmail, which was a set of rules off of D&D to do wargaming.
Yeah.
Which I have, because I've been playing I've been doing role play games as long as I have wargaming. It's they're chatting about that now. Jesus Christ.
You said it, not me, sir.
To be fair, but back in the 90s, we did a lot of role playing. So we did Warhammer Fantasy Battle role play. We did MERP, which is Middle Earth role play.
I love MERP. Very fond memories.
What else
of
did
MERP.
we do?
Never played it.
We did this one very briefly. It was called what was it called? It might have been called Millennium's End, and it was just like this proper, like hardcore kind of futuristic sci-fi cyberpunk type RPG. But we all played as like security contractors. But the rule book was like that. It was just insanely complex.
Yeah. But those older systems, especially the 80s and 90s systems, they were. I remember in MERP, you had to like roll on the chart to see how far you actually ended up going, and like the percentage chance that you fell over.
MERP was very, very, very involved. I mean, compared to we used to alternate between MERP and Warhammer Fantasy Battle, and the Fantasy Battle one was so much more sort of, I don't know, less complex than the Middle Earth one.
Yeah, they've just re-released they've just released the 4th edition of the Warhammer one, and they've gone back to more of the traditional rules from the 1st and 2nd editions.
Oh, right.
They've actually republished one of the original campaigns, just updated the rules, but they've kept all of the plot and everything and all of that exactly the same. So I bought the little starter set because I saw it for 20 quid in Waterstones. So I bought it when I was going to be out Christmas shopping. I remember I have a vast collection of role playing games. None of it's made its way onto the channel, and I probably won't. I've got a lot of miniatures that I collected just for that. Ken, you've seen some that I like the mountaintop thing I made.
Yeah, man, that's cool. It's really cool. Really cool.
But I kind of like, I think about that because we had the same. But weirdly, I don't know about this, but I've got friends who are really into role playing, but they will not touch wargaming. They won't touch it.
Yeah. I remember lots of friends like that.
I don't get it. I keep on trying to get them to play, and they won't have it. Even a fantasy one, they won't do it. They won't have it.
Martin, did you ever do any Star Wars roleplay?
Yes, the West Wind one with the D6
I think that's
system.
the one we did.
Yeah,
yes, I was a Jawa. I was a Jawa, and one of the other guys in the group was a Wookiee, and he was my bodyguard. It was brilliant.
So a bit of a Master Blaster thing going on.
Exactly. Yeah. I was supposed to be kind of this this entrepreneurial Jawa that was had fingers in pies all over the place. But I had a lot of enemies, which is why I had a Wookiee bodyguard.
That's pretty cool. We should try it, man.
Yeah.
We should try like a role play sort of thing between us four. Like we got this, haven't we?
I've got loads. Yeah, I've got loads we can do.
Would you be up for that, Dom?
Someone would have to tell me how to do it, but yeah, I'd be quite.
I've got a system where you could be a 95th rifleman that you can set in Napoleonic Wars, so it's not supernatural. Or unless you want supernatural, unless you want.
Oh, look at his little face grin then. Oh, I like that. That sounds quite cool.
Supernatural. I'm quite happy with that.
Versus zombies, quite easily.
I'm quite happy to do fantasy stuff. I don't mind at all.
As long as it's
Napoleon's guard are coming back.
Yeah, as long as it's not the talisman.
Yeah.
It was my fellow players in the talisman was the problem. It wasn't the game.
But... with the Star Wars ones, I had the Tales of the Jedi companion, which before all of the video games came out, and all of that was all about, set 4,000, 5,000 years before Luke Skywalker and all of that, and we were like making up our own stories of what it was like to be, and it was fairly brutal as well. I remember it being quite harsh.
Yeah, the games we played were like that, like really short firefights. Combat didn't go on very long. It was always like a 30-second rumble, for want of a better word.
My one of my favourites, sorry to go over here again, nostalgia. This is still thing. I ran a campaign for a D&D before it went into its. I think it was probably 3rd edition. So early 2000s. I ran a campaign, and we decided for the climactic session to pull an all-nighter, and it ended up being 18 hours long. And but we were trying to play it. We were trying to play it in real time. So basically they were like running out of time. And I just remember everyone, because Red Bull hadn't been around that long, and everyone was drinking Red Bull. One of my friends was sort of like fitting on the floor after drinking about 16 cans. We worked at Tesco, so we could get it all cheap. And I remember I went to the effort of painting all of these minis, I had this amazing sort of like scene in my head. I got the Lord of the Rings music because the first film had just come out, and I was playing the Lord of the Rings music, and they were doing like a cavalry charge, and there were fireballs going off, and I looked around and everyone was just either asleep on the table or like just like twitching for the amount of caffeine that they had, that they couldn't concentrate. So again,
I'll be honest though, when you're role playing, if you get a good group of people together and you get really immersed in it, it is a good way of spending an evening. I mean, it's over 20 years since I did anything like that. But I like I say, on the nostalgia front, absolutely, yeah. I have some great memories of RPGs in the 90s. Really, really good, really nice, enjoyable games.
I love it. I think it's one of the most social games that you can play, which is weird because everyone used to say, "Oh, it's anti-social," and it's like, well, no, it's incredibly social.
No, especially if you've got a really good DM as well, that makes a hell of a difference.
Exactly.
If the DM knows what they're doing and that they're open and they're not like a megalomaniac arse or something. If they can let the adventure flow, it is a really, really good experience.
So the best thing to do is the same. Go on. That's the same with all games, right? Isn't it? I mean, we talk about what's good and what's bad, but ultimately it's having a laugh with your mates, whether that's board games, whether that's role playing, whether that's tabletop gaming. It's that fun time you have just to relax and be a bit of an idiot and do something stupid, and it's good fun.
Yeah.
That's what I still love the hobby for.
Yeah.
And I don't really care what that is. Some people, that's why I can never understand when people go, "Oh, I'm never doing fantasy," or "I never do sci-fi." It's like, well, if it's fun, if you're with a bunch of blokes that you're having a lot, and ladies for that matter, if there are any, you're having a laugh, then I don't care whether it could be tiddlywinks. I don't care. You can have a fun time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
It is nice, isn't it? It's like you guys talking about all that role-playing game. I'm thinking as soon as the stream's ended, when are we going to organise the first game then? That's what I'm thinking.
I can certainly. So we were playing in lockdown, me and my group, over on stream, like just through Discord and stuff. And actually, to be fair, it's my fault we haven't picked up. We did 80 hours through the main part of lockdown of it, because we it was becoming almost like a soap opera, like very much like a soap opera. It's very melodramatic.
Do you know what the other yeah, that's crazy. Did you say melodramatic?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Oh, smart.
No,
basically, one of my friends. Yeah, sorry.
They're definitely up for that.
One of my friends who he probably won't forgive me if he watches this. I'm sorry, Nick. But basically, he's got some issues. He's got some serious issues that he needs to work out. That unfortunately, I think he works out through role playing games. Because we started this campaign for Pathfinder. Those of you who don't know, Pathfinder is the traditional successor to Dungeons and Dragons version 3, because they changed to version 4, and version 4 was crap. And 3 and Pathfinder, they carried on an open game license. Anyway, we carried on with this, and we had this long campaign. And when I was DM, I wrote it. I had this whole kind of Robin Hood kind of thing in mind, like, they were going to be thieves in the wood, and so it turned into The Sopranos, and they were just running like protection, and they were just running protection rackets, and the horrible, and they were. And I was looking on their stats, and I was looking at their sheets. It says, "I am lawful good." It's like, oh, you bollocks! Like, you've just tied someone to a chair and questionably got some information out of them because we're all it's just like they were like, "Do you want me to tell you what I did?" No, you got the information. It's fine. We don't need to. We don't need to go. And it's some of the best fun I've had. And then when I met Hayley, and I think it was about 2 years before I admitted to her that sort of I did this, and we slowly got her into it. And she turned out to be a psychopath and all when she was playing. I remember vividly we were playing a game, and someone had some. That's it. She went into a barn to shelter from the rain, and everyone was sheltering in the barn, including some travellers. And there was someone holding a bag, and Hayley said, "That's really suspicious." Is it really? And she went up to us, and he went up to us, it's like, "What's your name?" Why would he ask you? And I had to think on the spot, and I said Roland. And she just went off on one. Roland, what kind of a stupid name is Roland? What's in the bag? What's in your bag? Show me what's in your bag.
I think Hayley's got to join in with these role-playing games. This sounds quite
fun. We recently, I'll talk about it. We last Halloween, we were playing Acton Cthulhu, so World War II, but with Cthulhu in it. And it was all about investigations in Rome, and it's very well written. It's a very good RPG, and Hayley got bored of the investigation, so just started smashing stuff in the shop, including the thing that they were like trying to find that was priceless, summoning up all these gates. And she was like, "Right, okay, now it's time." So I was trying to use my bolt action minis to like represent the Germans, and I made like a little scene. I even used little LED street lights to do it, but because everyone got so pissed, it all kind of went down the pan quite quickly. So
all your hard
I blame
work,
it
mate.
Entirely. Yeah.
Oh my god,
that sounds good fun, mate. I'll definitely be up for that. I've always wanted to try Dungeons and Dragons.
Well, that's what I think of when you say nostalgia. I think wargaming and gaming sort of in general, and I think of it very fondly. And I would still rather now pick up a miniature and a board game than a controller.
Yeah. Do you remember? Do you remember your first? Do you remember your first mini, Martin, that you bought on your own money?
With my own money?
Yeah.
Yes, I do. It was the Dark Angels captain with the feathers coming up here, like a bit of a feather headdress.
Yeah.
He was standing with a sword like that, and the cloak. Yeah, that was the first one I bought. Even though I collected Blood Angels, I wanted him. So.
Did you paint him up as a Dark Angel, or did you paint him as a Blood Angel?
No, did I? No, he was red.
He was red. It's because he was a cool figure.
I didn't. The thing is, when we did that originally, there wasn't all this. There was just the chapters, but there was no difference between any of them. There was no. It was just what color you painted them.
Right. Okay. Got ya. I see what you mean. Yeah. No. That was cool. No, it's nice to see what people really gets their blood flowing and stuff like that. It's like, should we go through the chats? Because it's been a while since we've had a look. I've had quite a few. I've got Mark Tilley. He's going. I remember Bruce Quarantine's Napoleonic campaign in miniature. Used that with Airfix figures too before moving on to Grand Manor rules. We now We are now blessed with so many lovely hard plastic figures. This is very true, isn't it? Like Dom was saying. He's definitely. And Bill Roy's put, the internet has enabled non-gamers to see the beauty of figures and that their interest is shared by so many. This is very true. And then I got imaginary conflicts, but Road Trader, the pudding is coming. Do you get that, Steve? The pudding is coming.
Pudding is coming.
I wonder if there's something in like one of the scenarios or something like that. It's something to do with pudding.
Pudding is coming.
Quite
The
possibly.
pudding is coming.
Yeah, and then Stephen Port Guitars, but Epic was what got me into Games Workshop back in the 90s whilst at secondary school. Most other schoolmates were into Warhammer Fantasy Battles, Blood Bowl, and 40k, but I always preferred the smaller scales. There you go. That's it. This is it. It's just those things that get people going, isn't it? We got
There you go. There's the Bruce Crowe rules. There you go. I just picked them up off the book. These are the.
Is that a book
These
that
are the
hasn't
old
got a
book.
cover? It hasn't got an actual proper cover. It's just like a plain cover. Is it, Dom?
I bought this somewhere in a second-hand book shop. Cost me 13 quid. There you go. Just for nostalgia's sake. I just used to love these books. I mean, you got the. You can see that the uniform. Well, you didn't even have color plates. It was just pictures, but it had everything you wanted to play the game was in here. All the national charts for all the different troops. Yeah, it's great fun.
That's what I mean.
And
There's
then
some
things like
priceless
this.
stuff in there, isn't there, Dom? There's priceless things, isn't
Oh,
there?
you know, I used to love these. This is another one. This was one of the early days. I mean, this was the old. And we can see that picture there.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
that's
they'll
the
be
sort of that's the sort of wargaming porn that we used to get back in the day. These were, you know, it was, you know, none of these high quality pictures. These were just black and white photographs that were in, you know.
Yeah.
But that's what got me excited in the hobby. So yeah, completely agree. Yeah, people talking about Donald Featherstone books and that sort of thing. Peter Gilder back in the day. God, blimey, you're all getting seriously old school, folks. I feel almost young, but yeah, it's true. But Battle Knight said, well, find his comments now. Oh, geez, what did he say? There's so many comments. I'm gonna. He said, ironically, I was one of those cool kids. How things have changed.
Yeah,
Love it.
one of
love it.
us. One of us.
Yeah, now back to the rest of us. Yeah, anyway, Leslie says he had a school gaming club. Did anyone else have one of those? I don't remember.
Yes, but after the second one, some people got beaten up, so the teachers closed it. And
I was going to say, if we'd have set up some kind of gaming club, it would have been stormed and we'd have been pummeled mercilessly for the best part of an hour. That's just my neighbourhood.
Oh my god.
We had a chess club. I actually went out with a girl from the chess club. And that was the only reason I joined the chess. That's the only reason I joined the chess club, was to like try and get with this girl. This is back in year 7 days. So I was like, I'd have been about 12, 13 maybe.
That's not the club you instantly think about joining to find girls. I'll be honest.
Be a bit of work.
Tactic,
It
but
worked.
a bit of an alternative tactic there, yeah.
It actually,
Oh, well, you
but
know.
there was a lot of girls there, so it worked. I
I think the only club I was in at school was in primary school. I was in a bird watchers club.
never done that, Steve. I'm not going to lie. Never done bird watching. I've never seen the.
What,
appeal
you've
of
never
it.
wandered around a strange forest with a pair of binoculars? Why not? Every one of us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Not
it's just
since-
not.
not since that official warning, he hasn't, Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my
There's a court
my
order that
defense.
states I'm not allowed to walk
Just get-
around with binoculars, mate. So it's-
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that was my
Oh.
defence in court. It didn't quite work.
Actually, talking about things like that, Steve. HP scale modelling says, "Can you show the cup that you had with the skull?"
All right.
What is that, Steve? I never even got a proper look at it, actually.
There we go.
That's
Oh,
very nice.
yeah.
Sorry, it was.
That's
There
pretty.
we go. Very cool.
That's pretty big.
Sorry
as
about
well,
that. It was
isn't
a
it?
while ago. We asked for that.
Yeah, you get more than a pint in there. Got it from,
Oh,
do you know
what
what?
a
That was a pound from Asda.
Is it got tea in it, Steve, at the minute, or
No, it's just got water.
just water? Not paint water though.
No. What have they
No,
been
that's-
saying on
that's it.
here?
What have you been saying on your one, mine?
They're saying, does anyone remember the PC war game show they had on BBC Two, hosted by Eddie Mayer, Time Commanders? Where
Yes, mate. That was Total War. Total War.
And they were the worst commanders you would ever see. But it was always office structure, wasn't it? So you just had some general managers who were like in charge, and then they had their lieutenants, and they just treated them like shit.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. There was two battles. There was two. They did Boudica. They did the Battle of Watling Street. So Boudicca's last time. And this guy said, and he was like the manager of some big company, and he goes, I've seen Ben-Hur. We want long, thin lines of treat, and then it'll be fine. And then the British chariots just went smashing through them. And then they went, right, let's kill Boudica because that'll stop these 90,000 enraged Brits. And then I'll only forget the other one was. I can't even remember what battle it was. I'm sure it was with the Romans, and they said we've got to take the hill. A bit. Why? Well, they always just take the hill. So they moved their entire army to the top of the hill, and the computer player or the BBC player just sat there and shot them while they're on top of the hill. That was brilliant. That was it.
I used to love that.
I had a friend of mine who claimed he knew all the producers from that show, and he was trying to get me and my mates on there, and I said, Christian, there's no way on this earth they're going to let us in there. We're war gamers. We know what should happen. They want complete nonsense. They want people like the girls from the badminton club versus the blokes from the football team. That's what they want. They don't want people who have any idea what they're doing because it wouldn't be good entertainment.
That's why there was never nerds on there. That's why there were never nerds.
There were never nerds on there.
But I'll tell you what, I can tell you something, right? When I seen that, I thought, fucking hell, those graphics are awesome. I want to play that game, I was just like, I want that. And then I was like, later on, I was like, shit, this is Rome. Oh my God, Rome Total War. So I had to get a PC and save some money up to be able to have a PC to play Rome. Oh my God. And then my life changed. No. See, I'm quite a gamer compared to you guys, aren't I? I do,
I used to, and then I don't know. I just kind of dropped out. Really, I still play occasionally if I want to. Not as often.
I still game. I play. I'm trying to think what I do play. It's not a. I used to be a big online player. We had our own Call of Duty clan back in the day.
Yeah.
And we used to play that for hours and hours and hours. But we don't play as much these days.
No. See, I'm an avid PC gamer. I
like online games.
Yeah.
Sorry, Karen.
No, that's all right. I was just going to say, I'm an avid PC gamer. I'm PC master race by far. It's,
the best game I've played this year was probably the Untitled Goose game.
The goose game. You go around as a goose. It's really cool.
You go around as like a sociopathic goose, scaring the shit out of people and performing all different kind of task, but generally to scare people into some kind of psychological trauma, or as a goose that can honk. Absolutely brilliant game.
Yeah,
right.
I've seen that. It's quite cool. So,
I'm going to let you have that one, Steve, because you've been in lockdown forever. Because that's just weird. That's weird shit. I'm not lying.
Honestly, mate, it's like a massively grossing game as well, isn't it, Steve?
It's dead basic. I can't believe we're talking about Untitled Goose Game on Wargaming chat. Basically, what you do is you control this goose, and you've got a notepad full of things that you've got to do. Like one of them is lock a dude out of his garden and then steal his hat or his shoes or something. Another one is you have to lock this kid in a telephone box. I was like, this is slightly traumatic stuff. This.
Oh no! So apparently, I've had Miller's in the chat now. There's loads of people in the chat. I'm sorry if I've missed you. There's loads of people in there. Miller's in there, and he's just saying you can now get Rome 1 on your phone.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's lunchtime now, isn't it? That's done.
Yeah.
Aaron Lowe has just popped in and says, "I'm in secondary school now, and wargaming is in capital letters not cool." So yeah.
It's good to know it still isn't.
And then Hungington said he used to play war games at school and he's still got the ladies. Congratulations!
You're a very rare breed,
sir. Till I admitted that I did it. So that's. No, there's quite a lot of just people in here chatting about. Well, King Matt says, "What are these T-shirts?" Sorry, I'm going back. They're Dom's fault, and they're lovely. They feel very nice. I'm not getting as hot as I.
The material's lovely. It really is.
It is very nice.
Yeah, it's the podcast uniform.
This is.
Do you know what's even more terrifying though? Do you want to see what look I'm rocking with this T-shirt?
It's scared.
Check those slippers out. Look at that.
I think we've found out more about Steve in this single episode than we've ever found out.
Mate, if someone said to me what was Steve wearing on his feet, I would never have fucking said that in a million years. Mate, that would suit my King Henry jumper, wouldn't it? I could be a jester.
Oh, that is brilliant.
What else? What else have we got in here? Yes, this actually is to Maximus Solitarius. That's an amazing name. Says there's another good channel actually. If you want to look at some good role playing ones, there's a guy called Runehammer. But it used to be called Drunken and Dragons. And
I like that name.
His channel was all about making D&D and Pathfinder simple and accessible and fun. And it's successful and it's brilliant. And he basically showed you how to use blue foam really easily to create things, but not even certainly not up to say some like terrain shooter or anything like that, but how to keep people going. It's just brilliant. He has great ideas and he would come up with challenges and timers and lots of things. I've watched his videos and made it fun. So yeah, that is a good channel to check out, especially when he starts talking about all the various mead. I remember a video where he mixed mead and wine and beer or something like that in one mug and he was drinking it, and the video by the end of it is a bit of a free-for-all.
Jesus.
Jim Reaper says he didn't know what he thought you were going to pull out then, but elf shoes never crossed his mind.
No, elf shoes. No. Yeah.
But yeah,
Crazy,
no, there's quite a lot of chatting there, and certainly on the nostalgia and the role-playing games. I think a lot of people are the same. Although there's been a couple of people in there. I can't find the quote. You said they're the other way around. They play war games, but wouldn't play a role-play game. Which I suppose is, yeah, sort of, because there was that old 40K Games Workshop game called Inquisitor, which tried to bridge the gap.
Yeah.
More recently.
Yeah.
I had that, and I never got my head around it and got rid of it.
We played one game of that. It was a Friday night, and we played it in my mate's got a spare living room type thing, and we spent more time looking at the book than we did actually playing and rolling any dice. And it was there is a good
not a good
actually,
time.
At the moment, there's that's making a kind of revival, but they've combined that with Necromunda, and the game's called Inquisimunder. So they're taking bits from Inquisitor and bits from Necromunda, and they have this really grim, dark sort of skirmish roleplay game. It looks really, really good.
That's really cool. They've just released a new version of the 40K role-playing game called it's called Wrath and Glory, and it takes into account all the new I forgot what they're called, Super Space Marines or whatever they are.
Yeah, right.
And but I had one of the older ones. It's not actually that old. It's only about 10 years old, called Dark Heresy, where you are basically an Inquisitor's servant and you're off and you're solving. It's basically Inspector Morse with bolt guns.
Sweet.
Brilliant. Love it.
I'll tell you what.
I get very excited about hearing all these things because I just, it's
never new stuff in it.
Never did it.
It's new stuff in it.
Yeah.
It's like I wonder if there's like a medieval sort of role play sort of thing.
Yes, yeah, there is. There's
Tell me.
so there's a system. There's a system in place where you can play any time period you like, basically. And then there's add-ons for adding in supernatural stuff or spaceships or anything like that. There's loads of systems that do that.
So when you say there's systems for it,
yeah,
can you say, for example, like you can play like a role playing experience. You can do whatever you want in it. You can do whatever you want. So if I wanted to just walk up to Steve, for example, punch him, I could do that.
Yeah.
Just fucking
but there'll be consequences, and it'd be talking about the spirit, it'd be like the spirit of the game and stuff. There would be consequences to your actions, and they'd probably never invite you back. Yeah, that does happen. Like in my games, people regularly slap each other or try to stop them doing. Like someone will say, "I'm going to try and steal his purse," and there'll suddenly be a fight over the loot, which is more violent than what they did to get it in the first place.
That's crazy.
Ken, a good example of being able to do just anything. When we were playing MERP, my character didn't get along with a lot of the other characters, and so
Probably this.
Was that your choice, or did you decide that before the game had begun?
No, it just happened through because I mean, I generally used to disagree with a lot of the tactics we were doing, but we sort of built it into the game. I was kind of this naysayer, and so to get me back, we'd stopped over in this village, and then we were setting out early the next day. So what they did was they drugged me and tied me to a bed and left, and just left me in this tavern. So do you know what I said I was going to do? And they let me do this. I rocked up to the nearest tribe of orcs and said, I want to fight your leader and kill him. And then I was going to use this tribe of orcs to go and attack my former friends. Unfortunately, I lost the combat really quite badly, so that plan went quite awry. But it was interesting that you can do things like that. I was actually killed in one round of combat. It was terrible.
The system we're using at the moment is a complete heartback to 80s role playing, and it's called Forbidden Lands. And it's got all the 80s of it, and it's very bleak, and it's actually a sandbox game. So as a GM, I don't need to sit there and write a session out like you would for, say, D&D, where they're going to meet, or they go on a quest to find the magic roundabout. They don't do that. You actually, the players decide where they want to go, because you've got a big world map. It's more like Skyrim or something, and you roll for random encounters and random missions and things that they'll come across. But in it, there's all these rules to develop effectively your homestead. So my players have basically moved into somebody else's fortified home, have taken it over. They've built, and they've now set up like a baking company, and they're now it's like a violent Hovis. Like it's ridiculous. They've and I've been trying to it's like, you need to go on missions and quests, and they're like, yeah, but can we work out exactly how much money we can make out of our bread? And one of my players, because he has a business, he sat there and he's got a spreadsheet, and he's worked out what they're going to earn, what the resources they need, what they're going to earn, and how they can undercut their staff. Like, it's ridiculous. And I'm not even going to argue with him, because I know the spreadsheet's right, although I swear he's fiddled it somewhere. But it's an amazing system. It's just been they've just kickstarted an expansion for it, and all about the frozen north. But it's got all these. It's all very sandbox and open, and the whole point is it makes it very I don't want to say random, because that implies that there's no structure to it, but there is. It's just there's no pressure on somebody to spend a lot of time.
There's no time scale. There's no time scale.
Yeah, and it was a lot easier to pick up and play. So we just picked it up, we played it for 4 hours, and then put it down in lockdown, and then we could just pick it up straight away again.
So here's the thing: why is it that Tim Bix in my chat just said must be my age, but I never did D&D or role playing. As soon as somebody mentions spells in a game, I switch off. I wonder, why is there everything to do with? Why is role playing and that sort of D&D type stuff always fantasy? I mean, could you ever do a serious? Or have there any been any decent sort of historical type games? Because things like that computer game Ken was going on about Deliverance, whatever it's called, the
Kingdom Come Deliverance.
That's the one.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a brilliant example of a sort of role. Would be easy to turn that sort of thing into a role playing game.
Yeah, it is. You basically are
systems for it.
It basically is a role playing game. It is basically a role playing game, the actual PC game.
Yeah. Well, there are systems for it. There's what everyone traditionally thinks of Dungeons and Dragons, and you could use that system, but there'd be a lot of parts of that system that you wouldn't use, like the magic and the powers and all of that. But there's multiple other systems. There's one where people have just written a set of rules, and then you can do whatever you want with them. So there's one called Fate Core. There's another one which I like, which is called Savage Worlds, which makes everything quite pulpy. That's what we use for Cthulhu, and that's got in the rule book. It's got an example of a Wild West, game with
that'd be fun.
no supernatural stuff. It's got an example of Roman legionaries versus zombies on Hadrian's Wall. It has a sci-fi one, and then it has a zombie Nazi thing. So it showed how their system could be, used in multiple settings. So I can't think of. I've got a game that I really, really want to play, and I haven't played it yet, and it's called Shadows of Esteren, and it's written by a French company. And I went to an RPG convention a couple of years ago, and I spent about £100 on this system. It even came with a cookbook, so you could cook the meals that they eat in this world to serve at the game. It was mental.
Dwarven bread.
And that is it's a very. There's no dwarves or anything like that in it. It's very low fantasy. Very low fantasy. There's no orcs or anything like that. Monsters are unique, so there's not like a race of monsters. There's just like one. If, for example, a golem, there's only one ever, and once it's gone, and that is probably the closest that I've seen recently of a system that's purely, say, medieval. I bought a venture for it, which is basically a version of that film In the Name of the Rose with Sean Connery.
Yeah.
It's basically that.
Well, imagine like what I was thinking of, like historical events. Imagine like being a resistance fighter in an occupation, an occupied territory, like France, a resistance against the Germans in the Second World War, like doing little. Oh, how cool would that be? Like,
well, it's very strange because the first time we played Acton Cthulhu, I didn't tell them that it was Cthulhu. I just said we were going to do a World War II game.
Yeah.
And it was set in the Czech Republic just before it all kicked off. So it's set in 1939, and 1938. Sorry, it's before the occupation. And they went in there, and the whole idea was they were trying to meet the resistance leaders, and one of them had been kidnapped in this castle. So they did this whole thing and went to a castle. And then when they're in the castle, they started getting stalked by all these horrible things, and then they realised what I'd done, and they were a bit upset about it because they hadn't, all they had was little pistols. But I thought it was quite fun to take away that aspect of fantasy because no one then was ready for it when it actually hit. But you don't have to introduce it. There's quite a lot of games where you could just play it and just play it straight. It's historical.
The bad guys are the actual Germans, for example, or depending on how you're playing.
Yeah, there's quite a few. There's a game called Spycraft, which we did play, and do you remember 24?
Yeah.
The Jack Bauer and Kiefer Sutherland thing.
Oh yeah.
We made it like that, and so there was no supernatural stuff in it. It was just spies.
That would be pretty cool. I was just thinking like a medieval.
I think though,
sort of becoming a lord, like from a peasant or some shit, and
Yeah. There was a brilliant old system called Pendragon, which was set in the Dark Ages. Obviously, it was about King Arthur, but there was nothing supernatural in it. It was all, you could do the supernatural again.
Yeah, Paul just mentioned that in the chat. He said Pendragon. The other one he talked about is Twilight 2000.
Yes, I have a book for that somewhere, like a source book, but I never had the original rule book for it.
Okay. And he said he's also got one you can use for the English Civil War Renaissance D100 or something. That could be interesting.
As a massive H.P. Lovecraft fan, I would love to do a Cthulhu roleplay. It would be.
I'll be back in 2 seconds on that note. 2 seconds.
There you go.
There he goes. It's off like the speed of light.
You watch. Yeah,
it's weird though, isn't it?
Yeah, but look, now we've looked like we might have found something different to do. which is quite cool because it would be quite interesting. And mate, I'll tell you what, I'd be up for that. I've always wanted to do that sort of thing. I think it'd be really cool because you could be someone else, you can protect, you can set that mindset of this is how I'm going to play that character and just play that character like that. You could be an absolute douchebag. You could be a genuine sincere.
Well, that's how my MERP character developed. We played these characters for about 7 or 8, 9 months, so they developed quite a lot. But there was just this animosity between me and these sort of self-appointed leaders of our crew.
Yeah.
But it was a good dynamic to have because it was just
keeps it interesting, doesn't it?
Yeah, because not everybody's going to get on in a group like that. So it was just interesting. It brought a bit of sort of real life, like sort of humanity to it. But no, it was really interesting.
Could you imagine a game? Is a cool one. Could you imagine a game where you like went throughout history and chosen like people, like you'd have someone from the 95th Rifles, maybe a GI from the Second World War, or someone from ancient Rome, a gladiator from ancient Rome, and they all get some reason they just end up teleporting together inside a barn, and they're there, and then the game begins. That just
I read a book like that. I can't remember what it was about, but I remember a book like that.
how cool!
Something
How
like that.
cool
There was
would
some sort of portal, and they all got sucked through it, and it was
Yeah.
kind of fun.
yeah? How cool would that be? Mine. Yeah, got anything
Mm.
like that? Like, say for example, Don wanted to be 95th Rifles, Steve was like Second World War, German on the Western Front or something, and then like I would be like a Centurion from Rome.
Yes, this game.
Oh, there you go.
Funny enough. So there you go. So this is Savage Worlds. This is the rule set. That's all it is. That's how thick it is. It's a lovely little book. I think it's cost about £4 on Amazon, this little rule book. But in it, if you this has the rules. So in the first part of it, we've got Deadlands, which is the weird Wild West, weird World War II, Solomon Kane, Rippers. I'm not entirely sure what that is, but the whole system here is everything. It's got time travel rules. It's got anything. If you want to add magic, add this chapter. If you want to add monsters, here's some monsters, and here's some basic adventures for anything you want to try and do. So, and this is designed to be used with miniatures as well. So that's a good one. But there you go, Steve. Here is.
That sounds really
Oh
good.
no, I've
It,
gone.
it does sound really cool, doesn't it? Like bringing a load of there he's
Oh,
gone.
he's gone.
He'd be
We've
back.
lost him.
Oh,
But that does sound cool, doesn't it? Bringing a load of different characters together through different ages, but they've all got one one understanding. It's all they're all soldiers. Do you know what I mean?
So this
yeah.
this
so they've
reminds me
they've
very
all
much
got that warrior mindset. Yeah.
Yeah, they've all got one thing in
back
common.
in the day when before the internet and all that kind of shit was going on, and actually even when the early days of that, we used to play by mail games, and literally there were there were all sorts of versions of play by mail games, but the ones I used to particularly like, you had an empire and you built it how you liked, and particularly the free range ones. I remember doing one, and I can't even remember what it was called now, but it was set. It started in 1900, and so you started. I remember playing the Japanese, and you had to build, invest in industries, and it was freeform, so it was like a role-playing game, like you're talking about. But it was great fun, and you used to fill in your turn freehand and then send it over through the post because the internet didn't exist, and then wait a week for your return to come back, and all the different players would do the same thing, and it was great fun. I used to love those sort of things. They were brilliant.
Can you guys hear me now? I think I disappeared for a second.
Can you
Yeah, you're back.
Yeah.
I can't see Ken. Can anyone else see him? I don't know why I can't.
Yeah, sadly, he's still there.
I can see it.
I'm here, mate.
I can't see you. Never mind. Here you go, Steve. This is Acton Cthulhu. There you go. So that's the player's guide, made by Modiphius. So you can be, just an example, you could be a news correspondent. You can be, oh god, there's so much civil defence. It's actually more fun if you're not in the army. A labourer, merchant navy, marines, secretary. You could just be a secretary.
That's one good thing about a lot of the characters in Lovecraft stories is they're just ordinary people. They're professors, lecturers, scientists. They're not superheroes. They're not soldiers or anything like that. And that's why if no one has read any Lovecraft, if I had to recommend one author above anyone else, it would be H.P. Lovecraft.
Just remember, he was a man of his time. When you read it,
yeah, yes. he's got some questions. As long as you keep out his personal beliefs and it's a bit of a. I don't try and think about.
A little bit wobbly.
I'm gathering it was a little bit of a different time when he was.
Yes. Here you go,
well,
Steve.
He was
sorry.
No, I was just going to say he was a sort of privileged gentleman from Rhode Island, and he was brought up in a very kind of
shelters.
Different world, a different world, and that's certainly reflected in his own personal politics, his own personal beliefs. But as a writer and the worlds he created, yeah, I even have a spontaneous H.P. Lovecraft tattoo that I went and got one day when I was bored. That's how much of a H.P. Lovecraft fan I am.
I do love it, and I'm still waiting for that perfect Lovecraft film to come out, which will never happen.
God, any Lovecraft films I've seen have been a big old pile of bollocks.
Have you seen Dagon? Is it Dagon? Have you seen that?
I've seen Reanimator, which is the Herbert West one. That is absolute crap.
Yes,
and this one called Chilled, which is just equally as dirgeful.
Dagon is alright. The thing is, most of Guillermo del Toro's films are kind of a bit Lovecraft. There's that thing on TV now called Lovecraft Country, and I don't know what that's actually about. I don't know if that's just nicking the name, but here you go, Steve. So in this, your character has a brush, some kind of brush with the Mythos, yeah? So pick a number between 1 and 6. Pick a number between 1 and 6.
4.
4. So something happened to you. It was just one day in the town where you lived. So we're just going to go to that. Now just pick a number between 1 and 10.
9.
9. So it was just one day in the town where you lived, and the aging hotel was once a grand old dame in the 1920s. It must have been quite a luxurious place to stay until those fateful events. Now it's a rundown and barely half of it is habitable. You were helping smarten the place up for a few meals when you came across an old ballroom. What did you see inside? What were the strange inscriptions? Why will you never go back there no matter how much they paid you? Ken was there with his binoculars, that's why.
And I went, hey.
These are my 3 Acton Cthulhu books that we're currently using. And this is the campaign we're doing, which is called Shadows of Atlantis. So we're currently working our way through this monstrous tome, which takes place all over the world, and then I have a feeling ends up in Antarctica at the end. But
Battle Knights said you should try Shadow of Brimstone. So good RPG board game hybrid.
That's the Wild West. Yes, that's the Wild West kind of cross one. I've seen that in a couple of shops.
It's quite expensive, but
yes, yeah. I was just thinking. Conan. I've just got the Conan game as well. Well, I say just got it. I was on the Kickstarter. Like H.P. Lovecraft, I love Robert E. Howard. And they were friends. Well, they corresponded quite a lot, didn't they?
They were.
Once you get past the kind of Arnold Schwarzenegger, which I still love, Conan, there is actually a lot to it, to Conan and to those stories.
What I love about the Conan books is that he goes from just being this barbarian killing machine to being a king. So he goes from being a thief to ruling Cimmeria.
He's king of Aquilonia, isn't he? He's in the end.
One,
he's from Cimmeria, isn't he? That's right.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
He's just great because he talks about it in his notes. He talks about the barbarity of civilization, and that's what you get in it. Like, he's meant to be the barbarian, but when he goes to all these towns and that, they have gladiatorial combat. They treat him like crap. So there's actually quite a lot of sort of some messages in it. It's not as simple as just this guy going through carving his way through society. There is that as well, but.
God, I've not read Conan for a while. I've got the this is how sad it is. The likes of Howard and Davis and Lovecraft. I bought their complete works, their complete life works, for less than £2 on Kindle.
Oh,
really?
Now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got lots of them in the loft somewhere. Must get them out one day. Read them again.
Nick Game said he has the Conan board game. My mate's got that. That's a good board game. You definitely feel like a barbarian breaking down walls and stuff in that. That's a good game. I do enjoy that game.
How do you get time to play all these board games and role playing things on top of figure painting, work, and family and life?
And children.
I don't.
I have a very understanding wife.
I get a bit stressed out about it. But I don't have any other. They're the kind of the things that I do. I don't go and play football. I don't
go down the pub.
I haven't done that in a long time. I do go to the pub when the pubs are open, and then I crawl back in the mornings. But I don't know. I just tend to split it up quite well. Wargaming is always going to be probably my main thing, and role playing we probably do once a month if we're at full good. But because all my friends have kids, have jobs, and do things, sometimes it could be 6 months before we have a game, and so we try to do things called one shots, where you have like a one-off session, so you're not attached to your character, so you might throw them away in quite a blaze of glory. Because on that note, there's an Alien role-playing game that's just been released, and the whole point is you're trying to just see how long it is you survive, and you just want to die in a cool way. I get a little bit stressed out about it actually, but when I'm trying to find times for all of the hobby stuff, I sometimes get a bit stressed out about it.
I can imagine, yeah.
I just find that because role playing, from what I know of it, and I don't know much about it to be honest, but it always seems there's a lot of work involved with somebody to set it all up, to get that universe sorted out, or to set up the ground rules. But then do all these books just do it all for you?
Depends on the system and what you're playing. I'm not going to go back upstairs because I might wake the kids up. I've got books and books and books of notebooks upstairs that I filled in and written adventures.
Yeah.
I then tried to do it on a computer, and that didn't really work because I just thought, it's made it too much of a spreadsheet. So now I tend to just kind of write brief notes and then just sort of improv. And that's it, because the problem is if you try to write too much, you railroad people into decisions, and you don't get these fun moments, these spontaneous moments, which I think is what the whole game is all about. These fun little, Steve, you probably feel it. You just get these fun moments you could never write. You could never predict they're going to happen
in role play. Yeah, like I said to Ken before, once you start role playing with a character, I like the development. I mean, you start off with just this, a pretty, it could be like a vanilla character on this sheet, but the more you play with it, the character evolves, and it's just a situation. I mean, the example I gave before about deciding to take revenge on my friends by trying to hijack an orc tribe. I mean, it's not something we really set out to do during that session.
No,
but it just evolved that way.
Really cool,
and like I said, if the DM's open to it and isn't so rigid on sticking to sort of the quest, it does bring it's just that expansive element to it that I really like about role playing. But I think with role playing, you get out what you put in. I know it sounds a bit cliche, but it really is. The best way to describe it. If you put enough into it, you will get a lot out of it.
There's some good content on YouTube. I just saw I know we're coming up for time, but I saw a game someone recommended actually this week.
We are.
Which is basically called, you are ancient Greeks and you're on an Odysseus style voyage. You have no superpowers whatsoever, but you will be fighting to potentially get the god. You have to choose. Do we like Zeus? If you like Zeus, then Poseidon's going to cause you trouble. If you like Poseidon, then Persephone's going to cause problems.
That sounds fun.
So you got to choose whether you're Spartan, Thracian, Athenian, or whatever.
Yeah.
And all the artwork is done in that artwork that you see on the Greek pots.
Oh, that's cool.
All right.
That's really cool.
Fun.
Yeah, it does.
I'll have to find it. But anyway, sorry.
That's all right. Yeah. Does anyone want to say anything else quickly before I end the stream?
Well, only the fact we didn't get around to a couple of questions, so we'll just have to play them next week. So apologies.
Oh, of course, yeah, we did. Oh, yeah, God, yeah, we just rambled, didn't we?
But it's fine.
2 hours.
We did ramble, but it's fine. It was entertaining and it was different.
Yeah.
So
Can I just apologise for my slippers? Sorry for anyone that was traumatised
or offended.
or offended by my footwear this evening.
But no, just big shout out again to Dom
I'm just
for
pleased
this.
you didn't show us where your tattoo was, mate. That's the main thing.
Yeah, to be fair, yeah, that's
Impromptu tattoo.
I mean,
You learn so much about Steve on these streams, don't you? But
we've learned more today about Steve than I think we've ever wanted to know.
Exactly,
frankly.
But yeah, cheers again, Dom, for these shirts, and this is the new plastic.
Thank you very much, mate.
Podcast uniform. So yeah, you'll see us in these every week now. So
yeah,
need we say more?
Can we just keep? I feel like I want actual epaulets though. Like I'm gonna have to.
You have to get them. Yeah.
And when I beat you, I'm gonna then add an actual medal.
I've already got one
Now,
in
that is
mind when
a
I won
good
the second game. But yeah, guys.
God. Yeah, but look at all Steve's medals. I mean, Jesus, look at all of them. He's well and truly
When it comes
loaded.
to medals, look at them.
Look at him. Beautiful. But yes.
Lovely thing.
Thanks, guys, for watching. We'll see you again next week on the Plastic Crack Podcast. Take care and bye-bye for now.
Cheers, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thanks very much. See you later. Bye-bye.